You could have heard this episode 48 hours early on our Patreon, patreon.com/indieheadspodcast. But joining us for as low as $1 a month, you'll see episodes early and get access to our Discord server. All of our upcoming episodes we put on our Patreon 48 hours before it hits our public podcast feeds. But if you're hearing this via our Patreon feed, we thank you so much for your support. We especially want to thank our Real Ones patrons, including Becca Etienne, Georgia Mikowski, James Boss, Holiday Kirk, Tyler, Marcy Anime, Chance Holdup, Delaney Mothman, Brianna Cruz, Josiah Duncan, Janelle Fleur, Matt Cameron, Grant in the Back of My Dragula, Pablo Escobar's Hippos, Jackson Christ, Alec Felder, Jeremy Bull, JP, Matthew Taylor, Breen Hare, Drew Wharton, I Like Books, Jonathan David, Max Kapazinski, Mark Barry, Cal50, No Woods Refused Pimped Out Dave Matthews Event, Chris Wade, Midwest Maxwell, Kevin John, Jake Wald, Eraser Baby, Rob Mariano, Max, Dylan, Zach, Kevin 490 Freak, and Maze Farms. To become a real one, consider supporting us for $5 a month on Patreon to receive a bonus episode every month and get a shout out at the top of the pod. Anyways, though, enjoy the episode. It's not like Tangle, but it's definitely just like it's not where it usually is.
I have an opening observation if you wanted to use it as a cold open.
Go for it.
So it's very important to me that I remind everybody. So you know how in the beginning Bella takes a cactus with her to go to Forks, like she's in Phoenix and she's got her little cactus in her little pot. She didn't go to the store and buy that cactus or something. No. She went outside with a shovel and like scooped out the cactus and put it in the pot. And I like the opening scene is literally her standing outside with this cactus and a shovel, and I'm like,
I both like it in terms of if it was a real person that did that, it would be like more charming. But because it's a movie, it's like so on the nose. It's like I will take ground and take with me home to a new place. It's
also like, how did she get the cactus through TSA? How do you explain that to TSA agents?
Did she fly or did she drive?
Worse things than
there's a very gratuitous Southwest Airlines shot.
I mean, I imagine she probably, like luggage or, sort of put on her carry-on somewhere. I don't know. I just did a bunch of flying recently that you can get some weird stuff on planes probably, that are not weapons or things of that sort. You can probably get a cactus on a plane. I think if you're smart about it.
Could you theoretically do a 9/11 with a cactus?
Great start to the episode.
Not that okay. This is gonna get into TSA is gonna start doing an investigation, and I do not want that. So let's
investigate Harry Farrell.
Love this one.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Indieheads podcast. I'm your host Matty at @MarvianPrince on Twitter. This episode, I am joined by Jackie, Natalie, and Britt. And Britt in particular is the reason why we're all here. And Britt,
sure am.
Let's just get into it. What are we talking about on the pod?
All right,
tonight?
Folks, it's time. It's time to bring back your edgy middle school 13-year-old self. You got to do the dark eyeliner. You got to like casually, weirdly brush your hair back behind your ear, all uncomfortably in front of fans. Folks, it's the Twilight episode.
Yeah, baby.
God. So we are talking about the soundtrack, or most of the soundtrack to the first Twilight movie. Just Twilight on its own. That's it. We got 13 songs, which is usually a lot bigger than our usual playlist order. But there's there are some that we have maybe not a lot of thoughts, and then there are some where we have valleys of thoughts. As Natalie hinted at, one of these songs that we have a lot of thoughts on.
I think that's going to eat up like a solid 20 minutes of this episode. I would imagine.
Absolutely. I have like
exactly.
There are like half these songs I have zero thoughts on, and then all of my thoughts are on him, and we will get to him.
Well, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Our first order of business, our first song Again, very sadly, AJ Moser's not here with us. Maybe
It's actually probably
in
for the
post I
best.
can get him to record.
Maddie,
Let's
Maddie,
not
transmission.
tempt him. Let's not tempt him.
not even probably, not even. This is the first non-toxic discussion of this band we will ever have on this podcast.
The first and last.
Like,
the first
God.
although you
conversation.
say his name 3 times, he's just gonna appear in the Zoom call.
It's true.
Don't even.
It's true.
Like Bloody Mary.
Yeah, but our first song is Muse's Supermassive Black Hole. So, oh god, let's just hang on, let me pull it up on Spotify really quick. So most of these are going to be on Spotify, but there's a couple that are not on there, and we'll get into those in due time. But first off, Supermassive Black Hole, Muse, let's get into it.
I forgot there's like 3 seconds of silence at the beginning of this. There we go.
This song
Is that like an
absolutely
album
slaps.
thing, or
Like,
I think it's an album thing because I wasn't playing from the actual playlist. I was playing from like just collected Spotify, and I think it's an album thing. It's weird.
well, also like one thing about this that I noticed when I was like kind of watching it is that several of these are in some kind of like chronological order of when they appear in the movie except for like this song and the next one.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, they gotta start off with a banger.
That
is the
makes
thing.
sense.
You gotta-
And these are definitely the two that create. I mean, like both these bands were big already, but what happens with the Twilight movies is after the first one, being a band on the soundtrack of the Twilight movie is not only like a paycheck, but it's like a really, really valuable thing to get for your band.
Mhm.
Because both Paramore and Muse got like a huge inflection of moody teenagers into their band that like made their audience a lot younger and also just grew their audience a lot. And so I think that those ones getting front loaded was just them being aware that like, oh yeah, these are the ones that are gonna pop from this movie the most.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, you've really got to front load it with the baseball scene because everyone remembers the baseball scene, and even on release, it's like the baseball scene is like where that shit is
That's
at.
probably
So it's
the
like
only thing that's held up from this movie.
It rocks. It whips.
I think this movie is both overrated and underrated. I haven't watched it in a while. I
agree,
wanted to
I
watch
agree.
it for this thing. It's like
I
there are
watched it
some
last
ways in
night.
which it is pretty successful in just a like ridiculous campy way, but also, as I'm sure we will get into, there are limits with the source material in terms of what you can do to adapt that book and all of the weird stuff that is in Stephanie Meyer's head and then thus in her novels.
You also have to remember too that like the thing about Muse, it put Muse onto the Twilight soundtrack to begin with because Stephanie Meyer was so
Stephanie Myers
obsessed with
is
Muse.
obsessed. Yes.
She like dedicates
Which
the Twilight
makes
novels to
a lot of
Muse.
sense. I like this song in general. It's definitely one of the as someone who's a noted Muse hater, this is definitely one of the better Muse songs, but there are two things. One, I can't hear the riff in the beginning without just thinking that this is like the most Target commercial Muse song that exists. You know what I mean? Like you hear the down, and you just kind of hear like I did Home Depot when you're here, your family last week. I can't do that joke again, but that's the vibe. But then also, I just find that like this is a fun song, but I also just my whole thing with Muse is that it does sound a lot like other music I like, but just a little dorkier in a way that makes me feel like a dork, you know what I mean? Like, whenever I listen to a Muse song, it's like, oh, is this what, like, people who don't like Radiohead think of me? Is basically how I feel.
Put a pin in that because
they're not
remember,
the same. They're not
Radiohead-
the same. Muse is like cock rock Radiohead. Muse is dumb guy Radiohead. Like they are not the same band. But and also I'm not opposed to cock rock and dumb guys and himbos. You know, like I love a good paranoid conspiracy guy and just dumb guys in general. But you know, like Muse are the lame libertarian bro version of it.
Here's the thing is when they go like cock rock, I actually don't mind them. It's when they go full on like libertarian Banksy tinfoil hat.
And also,
like,
also when they
I
go
think they're two
prog
distinct modes.
mode, that's the other thing is like when you know what this song reminds me of is I recently finally, after teasing it for many weeks, did a and I don't think Matty was expecting slurs this episode, but I did a very faggy cover of the song "Paralyzer" by Finger 11.
Oh yeah, you did do that.
And
although I did wince because it's like, oh man, I have to do like even more editing than I usually do on episodes now.
Sorry,
God damn it.
Sorry,
it's fine.
You
No,
don't have to bleep
it's fine.
that. You just don't have to. You can just let it.
That's true. I don't have to.
You can let it rock. I won't make your life miserable. Besides that, anyways,
that's true. We're keeping it in, all right. We're keeping it in, all right. We are the Indieheads podcast.
We're saying it.
The stupid liberals can't cancel us this time around, okay?
There are slurs. We get to decide when to use them.
Yes, but I also do think that Matt Bellamy, who can very easily annoy me vocally, I think I like what he's doing here in a very kind of this song to me sounds like what if Tom York made a song with Timbaland, and I'm not opposed to that. That's like
there we go.
Fun.
There we fucking go. No, here's the thing: is that when I ran through the playlist just now because I was crunching it like right before recording, I hit the song and I was like, yeah, no, this is like still pretty all right. And like running through the playlist, this entire soundtrack again, I'm like, oh yeah, this is just like one of the best songs here. Like this feels like it is just like I'm letting the music like fully rock my body here.
There are a lot of songs on this playlist that I thought were pretty mid or bad. I think this is one of the better ones, as much as I am a Muse hater, which is why I'm really glad that AJ's not on this episode, because this is the only time I will ever say anything good about Muse on a pod. Mark my words. Listen, like, and it's not even like out of like a contrarianism or just like a hater to be a hater. Like, this is straight up one of the only Muse songs I have anything nice to say about. So
I'm putting an anti-AJ Moser protection spell on this episode. Like, this is a safe space from AJ Moser. We can speak our truths, and it stays here in the confines of this episode. He's not touching this.
Why don't you just call him AJ Muser?
AJ Muser. It's true.
Don't give him any strength.
Yeah, don't give him any strengths. Don't give him any strengths. This song rocks. I gotta say, it is a cock rock classic. Mm-hmm. And again, it is a part of the best scene of the first Twilight movie for sure. The baseball scene is just, it's a lot of fun. It is dumb as hell. So Britt actually watched Twilight, and I watched a lot of clips, so I got a good refresher on the movie. Mm-hmm. It is dumb as hell. The movie is dumb as hell,
but it's so fun.
Again, when we get into like later songs, we'll get into the sort of the psychosexual weirdness of Twilight. But the pure dumbness of Twilight is it's at a peak during the baseball scene, but like good dumb of like the horrible like fat like people are on wires just running like fucking crazy. The really like bad like CGI fast motion.
Rosalie just goes, "My monkey man."
My monkey man.
Twilight jumped with like very bad wire foo, so Riverdale could fly with magic powers. I've not watched that
season yet, Jackie, but I'm probably going to sometime later, like later in the summer. I'm finally like
you should definitely,
because again I watch it with one person.
I'm gonna be about like watching Riverdale. Like you should process because every time Riverdale, unlike wrestling, is something that I have absolutely no familiarity with. But everything you tell me, I'm like rapt listening to it. Like you gotta watch Jackie. You gotta watch Riverdale. You gotta watch. I understand.
I gotta at least make you watch the pilot just so you can kind of get in your head like yes. Because here's the thing: the show it gets progressively crazy.
Matty, I've seen a lot of clips. I know the euphoric highs and lows of high school football or whatever the quote is.
Yes, but like you do need the context a little bit.
Yes.
But even then. I do want to pull up the baseball scene.
You need the context to know how out of context that is. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where it's like
exactly.
You need to know what's built around it to understand how insane it is.
Mm-hmm.
Which even again out of and in, it's still the high school football quote is insane. I got attacked by a bear. Jesus Christ. Riverdale is an incredible television program, but I want to point out really quick in the baseball scene of Twilight. Let me pull up a little bit. Let me see. Where is Jasper the one who has like the longer curly hair, Britt?
Yes.
Am I getting that correct? Look at this. He's again, now I've not played baseball in a very long time. I don't watch baseball. I only did Little League and I don't really watch it very often. this man is literally, his feet are right up to the plate. The way he's holding the bat,
His
he needs to be at least a foot back.
his knees are gonna get taken out like he owes a mob debt.
I agree, Matty, but I also think this is like a hilariously small complaint to bring up with this scene that is just like insane.
I just had to mention it.
No. I agree, but that's like probably 17th on my list of things I would bring. This scene, I mean, like the fact this whole movie like looks like it's shot through like an Instagram filter is very of its time. How pale everyone looks is a thing everyone loves to talk about, but like this movie is like truly like they bleached it, like it's so like desaturated, it's crazy.
And then put like a big blue filter on it
which,
to make it like so unnatural, just like everything
Natalie,
around her.
Can you say the joke that you made in the chat really quick, Natalie? Just so we have as a soundbite.
Yeah. Never should have smoked that shit. Now I'm in the Twilight color grade.
True.
Exactly. But that is Supermassive Black Hole. Baseball scene still holds up as a hilarious scene. Again, I'm someone that loves camp and I love bad movies, and this is the peak badness of Twilight. This is the good shit. This is the shit that they really should have been continuing to go on. Of course, also there's I believe we'll get to it a bit later on because I think the song is used during another great weird quote from Twilight a bit later on. The soul instrumental piece that we'll be talking about on this episode. But let's move on. I'm talking very fast. Let's move on to an absolute banger, an absolute fucking classic.
Fucking
Song.
And this one, we gotta watch the video for this one. Sorry to the listeners at home that do not get to watch the video. But if you're like me, you've seen this video 1,000 times. So like literally, you're gonna hear the song and you can line up the video. There is a projector in your head playing the video as you listen. So our next song, Paramore's Decode, is an absolute banger.
Yes.
I'm not sure if this is the first Paramore song that I heard, but it's either this or Misery Business. It might as well be this one.
More like Paramore Decode is what I have to say about this song.
And Paramore, of course, for some reason there's. Oh, sorry, Britt, go ahead. Keep it to the. We gotta keep it to the.
Basically, put a chokehold on the teenage girl demographic. Like, oh my god, and like I will give them props. During this time period, they ended up going on tour with fucking No Doubt, of all people. Like for their reunion tour, they were the opener for that. And so, like my mom actually went to high school with Gwen Stefani, so she got us tickets to go to see the No Doubt concert when they came through Virginia Beach. And I was like, okay, all right. And Mom said, "You want to come along?" And I said, "I want to go see Paramore." And they're like, "Okay, you can." And she's like, "Okay, you can go see Paramore." And I'm sitting there like, "Where is Decode? I was promised Decode." And they're like, she's like, "Oh yeah, they're not going to play it till the end." And I said, "That makes no sense." But that's how 13-year-old me worked. Like, they don't have any other songs. Just Decode. Where did they all come from?
The thing is, you were right. You were right to ask for it because this song is an absolute banger, and it is like there's a reason like they don't really play many of their non-album songs except for like this one and the one that we'll get to later, and that's because they're not only iconic but just that good. Like the thing about Paramore is that like if they have a banger, it's just gonna like go for the throat. It's gonna like grab you and just hold you, and you're just you hear that shit when you're a teenager and it's just never gonna let you go. Like,
oh yeah,
it hits just the same when you're like 29 years old as when you're like 12 and in your like childhood bedroom.
Oh yeah, this song like made me feel so angsty as like a 13-year-old girl, and I'm like, let's go. Yeah, I'm gonna be a broody vampire girl. I gotta like uncover my neck and hope that like the hot vampire in the pool is gonna bite it.
We talked last week about how a lot of the Pandora songs are my life a movie for real core, and like Paramore is like the best possible iteration of my life a movie for real core, especially this era of Paramore.
This song is literally my life a movie.
No, exactly.
I really like this song, especially like instrumentally, like the build of it and the guitars and everything. Like musically, this is like one of the sickest Paramore songs. I never thought it was never like the one for me as far as the hook to it. I think the verses are all really good, but I think the chorus is like not one of their catchiest, but I still do really like it. And I definitely think it is, of all of these songs, as far as matching like the sort of teen angsty, moody vibe that like Twilight was trying to capture. Like this is the most like perfect for that, I think, of any song we're gonna talk about this episode.
Absolutely. This to me feels the most like Twilight in terms of like the kind of mood and emotional palette that I think of the movies as capturing, which like to its credit, like honestly I think in a lot of ways the song, not to denigrate Twilight, but I think this song almost kind of like rises above it in a lot of ways and like stands on its own.
That's fair. I mean, we're all so I think now's a good time to just give kind of general Twilight. Really, I did not watch the movies in theaters at the times, but being a closeted, didn't realize I was trans girl, and also being a notorious like fantasy novel reader of all kinds, like any novel about people that were animals or people that were monsters or people that became monsters, you know, that was like my jam. And so I did try out the Twilight novels, but it was very much a like, oh, I know I'm quote unquote not supposed to like this, but I'm reading these anyway, just because that was the period of my life I was reading like nonstop. So I read all the books, not all the books. I read like the first 3 books. I don't think I ever finished, but and I liked the movies when I got around to it eventually, but I was never like super duper like into the movies. But I do appreciate the vibe in, even though especially now, like as we've discussed, Stephenie Meyer is Mormon, and her feelings on topics limited to but not including but not limited to pregnancy, marriage, sex, the weird things going on there that we don't even need to unpack all of in this episode. And that is, I think, there are a lot of things that hamper these movies. Like, for example, the fact that of the people they cast in the original movie, like some of them, like Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, turned out to be like some of the best actors of their generation. And some of them are Jackson Rathbone, you know, like not all of them. And then you have to keep them along for the whole series, you know. And some of them are just like teenagers, and all of them have to be hot. So a lot of them are just like dumb hot people, you know. Like, so there's a real hit or miss kind of quality to the cast. It's also good to bring up, just as far as we're talking about being a moody teenager and being like, that's the vibe I want to project. I have recently been told by a cashier at my weed store that I look like a vampire. I was wearing all black, but they told me I look like one of the evil vampires from the second Twilight movie, and I was like, you know what?
Oh wait, I know which one. I think I know which one. Hang on.
I do. Dakota Fanning. Is that what you're thinking of?
I was gonna say Dakota Fanning a little bit. Yeah, that's. Let me pull up her. Sorry for the visual bit on the audio podcast, everybody. But I want to say it's. Let me. God damn it! Stupid. My fucking favorites bar. I think. Okay, Dakota Fanning, Twilight. Just to confirm. Let's see. Oh yeah. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. There we go. That's just there we go. That's Jackie.
I have to claim the new trans character, because my long bit about claiming Luna Lovegood as the trans character in Harry Potter
that aged badly now
is now canceled, because the actress who played Luna Lovegood is a dumbass, which
I feel like fewer characters or fewer actors from the Twilight saga have said transphobic things, or they've just kind of disappeared, which is probably for the best.
I hear Jacob in the background. I hear he's howling.
That's my dog. So, by the way, just in case Matty can't edit it out or something, my dog, I'm watching my parents' elderly dog, and sometimes he just sits there and cries. He's fine. He's just laying in bed, and he just goes, "I miss my people." Which,
he's saying, where's Bella, is what he's saying.
Yes. Where are my mom and dad and Abby, my sister? And I'm like, I'm right. I'm like, Otis, I'm right here. You're fine. You're okay. So there's no animal abuse happening. He's just being a bitch.
Well then, but yeah, Decode, great song. Great song. Again, it is. Damn, as Natalie said, "Damn My Life, a movie for real." That's one. It's one of the peak songs of that feeling. And I would still say it's one of Paramore's best songs. I mean, even now.
I do, and I'm allowed to say this as like a Paramore aficionado. I do have like a mild hot take when we get to the next Paramore song on this list, but we'll get there when we get there.
Ooh. But up next on our playlist of delights, our soundtrack of delights, actually more accurately, we have a track from the Black Ghost with Full Moon. So let's hit play on that right now. When I first heard this, I was like, "Is this like like?" He sounds like the guy from the Shins. So I was wondering if it was like another Shins side project, but it's just two guys. It's just two guys.
In the what year did the original Twilight movie come out? It was 2009. Oh wait. In 2008, guys like this were just walking around. You know, you could just
they could
go
be anywhere. They could haunt anywhere.
You go to Brooklyn and go to a store, a Kith perhaps. And there'd just be a guy like this, just buying some shoes, and he'd have a fedora on. It's at this very weird intersection of like once the beat kicks in, it's like, oh, clearly like this runoff of like kind of the early 2000s kind of chill out and trip hop stuff, but like with this very late 2000s twee folk thing to it. But he vocally, he's really Go Girl giving us nothing. It's like so boring.
Yeah, this is the thing is, this starting the way it does, I'm like, okay, I can understand this like being here. This feels very much like I taught an AI to make a like folky acoustic song for the Twilight soundtrack, and then the beat kicks in and it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't work. It doesn't gel. It's just two different things.
It starts out like telegraphing that it's gonna be like B tier Shins core folk thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, we're gonna actually be B tier sneaker pimps, and it's like, you're not really good at either of those things, and you also threw off my expectations with the feint that you did at the beginning there.
I would like to point out the bio that Matty pulled up says that the debut also has Damon Albarn in guest vocals, which is further proof that he's been watched for a while.
Happy Cracker Island release day, everybody.
Happy Cracker Island release day.
Happy Cracker.
I mean, the context of this particular song, just like in the movie, it's played literally at the very beginning. This is your first impression. Literally, Bella is talking about like, oh, I'm in Phoenix. She's scooping out her little cactus and getting it ready to go on a plane to go do 9/11 in Ports. But no, and they've just got this song playing while they just fly over Washington, and you're like, okay. Everything goes from like normal colors in Phoenix to blue. Just blue.
Oh wow. So the guy used to be in the band Simeon, who became Simeon Mobile Disc. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading this guy's, but both Kessling and Laura come from musical backgrounds. The dad played in like fucking Star Wars soundtrack as like an oboist. Like they come from music.
Yeah,
they're nepo babies. Got it.
But this song is just boring. Like, this is a great, like, this, if we do more Twilight soundtrack series,
we
like,
absolutely will.
Which we will. There are none others on the soundtracks of the movies that are, like, this mid after this, because after this movie, it becomes such a competition to get on that, like...
Absolutely.
These bands of the first movie just don't exist anymore.
The bands start cooking. They're like, all right, we're cooking.
It becomes like a who's who of like who wants to try to get that breakthrough. Whereas
it becomes like a compilation you're submitting for instead of just like what can the studio get for this movie. It then becomes who can get onto this soundtrack.
But a lot of these definitely feel a lot more like mood, like they're there to specifically complement a particular mood that like Catherine Hardwicke is like going for. Then like this is like meant to be like this like big soundtrack cut, or like meant to totally. like really carve out the scene in this way. It's more of like this is just kind of like place setting.
This movie, it is more, you're right that it's more organic, because even though this was like a big deal and the studio was putting like money behind it. This was before the YA boom, and it really kind of starts it in a lot of ways. Like, this movie is really the movie that started the whole, like, oh, you can have these books that, like, are bestsellers and they're going to go number one at the box office. Like these kind of, which existed in the 90s, but for different kinds of books, like, never for this kind of thing.
Yeah, and like, so, even Harry Potter couldn't, like, have a soundtrack like that. Like,
exactly,
you had to go with, like, a John Williams soundtrack.
And so it was a smart move, to do the soundtrack the way that they did, but that this soundtrack, because of what they knew they had to go for, which is that they had to get young people interested and that they had to set this kind of teen angst romance vibe, they did a really good job of being like, okay, we need to capture the kind of collective subconscious of indie music right now. And they do and don't in some ways. Like, there's some hits and some misses here, but let's move on to the next song, because unfortunately I don't have nice things to say about one of my guys this episode. We just got to get this out of the way.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Our next song is Linkin Park, Leave It All the Rest.
Wah, wah.
I will agree it's not one of Linkin Park's best, but this is fine.
I think this is one of the worst Linkin Park songs I've heard. It's not good. I'm not one of those, like, oh, only Hybrid Theory and Meteor exist snobs. Like, I got into Linkin Park later because I am young. Like, I was very, very young when Hybrid Theory came out. So, like, Linkin Park more hit me in the kind of 2008, 2009. I mean, for me, the Linkin Park needle drop that I associate with my childhood is, of course, the final scene of the Transformers movie, in which Optimus Prime looks out into the distance as What I've Done plays dramatically before the credits hit.
The song doesn't even come on in the movie.
But,
really?
I just think this is, like, the sleepiest Linkin Park. Like, this is the most Linkin Park have ever tried to sound like Coldplay to me. And that's, like, fine. But, like, they can do a more ballady song in a way that still feels, like, intense and gripping in the way that all great Linkin Park songs do. I think this song is, while it's, like, a nice, fine song, I think it's just really, really boring.
I don't know. I think we all need our kind of, like, just straight down the middle, like, new metal ballads.
Totally.
Like,
and I get that it probably fits the Twilight soundtrack for that reason more than a lot of other Linkin Park songs, but I don't know. This is just, like, it's partly that I hold other Linkin Park now, like, after the last few years, like, on such a high pedestal. I really have come to think that's, like, some of the best music, period. And so, like, I don't know. I just think this song is fine.
I mean,
but
like,
I don't know. This feels like I'm tapping into, like, my inner angsty, like, 13-year-old I wouldn't let, like, give the time of day, because I was, like, I was too guarded about that shit. But, like, I don't know. It does the job. I think that's all I really care about.
That was the thing, is that my middle school, so, like, I talked recently about my dad getting me into, like, kind of mainstream indie in the Pandora episode. The other side of that coin, which was not from my dad or anywhere else, it was really just from, like, movies and TV, but also from, like, Guitar Hero, was me getting into, like, some metal and, like, emo air quotes, but it was, like, only very specific kind of commercials. So, like, 3 Days Grace and, like, SR-71 and, like, shit, like, and Linkin Park. And I remember, like, my younger sisters teasing me for liking Linkin Park because they thought that was stupid or whatever. But, like, there were so many other Linkin Park songs that I liked at the time more than this song, and even now that I have this, like, different appreciation of their music as an adult, I still don't really gravitate. And there are other songs on Minutes to Midnight, like What I've Done, or, like, even, like, Bleed It Out, or, like, there are other ones I like more on this album or other, like, late period Linkin Park albums, not even taking into consideration, like, Hybrid Theory and Meteor, which I think are on a whole other level.
So, like, this is going to be a weird analogy that might only make sense to me, but, like, Linkin Park doing Transformers and doing What I've Done is like Linkin Park making a boy toy And then this is like the girl toy version of
No,
Linkin Park. Like
yeah,
I mean,
you're
solid toy and girl toy.
No, you're 100% right. There's no shame in that.
Looks at my smudge notes on my hand. Linkin Park boy toy?
which is bullshit though, because the boys got the good one, you know? Like, I mean,
the boys got the good one.
I have talked about it. Whenever we talked about Linkin Park on the Butt Rock or whatever, I believe I did bring up, I'm not sure if did we watch it on the episode, the scene from Transform, like having the Optimus Prime vocals come in.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's so good.
Over the song
so
is the funniest thing in the entire world.
But the song is like not even used in the movie. Not at all.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
So
and then also you had for the Transformers sequel movie, there was New Divide, which was a Linkin Park original that they made for the movie, which is actually a pretty good late period. Like, New Divide is a better Linkin Park song than this one, I think. This song doesn't even show up on like their greatest hits, I don't think. Like, this is it's fine, whatever. We don't have to keep harping on it, but
yeah.
I will say about it is that it is both, even though I'm disappointed by it as a Linkin Park song, it is both way better than the last song we talked about, and it is way better than the next song we're gonna talk about. The probably of the week is up next. Actually, yeah, we will think.
We will
through that.
very quickly top it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want. Okay, I can't spoil our next topic. We gotta continue.
Just play the song.
Let's get into it. Next song from Mutemath, Spotlight.
I for a second I was like, why have I heard this band's name before? And like just put it out of my memory. Like when I came to this, it felt like I was like, oh, I haven't heard that name in a while, and it like hit me midway through this. I once had to chaperone both of my sisters when they were both big into 21 Pilots, and they were like touring Blurry Face, and like this was the band that was opening for them. So like that's the energy I associate with them.
Really? Because I thought they were just gonna be some like weird Christian rock band. Like this sounds like a Christian rock band that.
So
Stephanie Meyer and her Mormon ass like snuck in there.
Here's distinctly what I identify with this band. This is 100% like twee 2008 Urban Outfitters music.
Oh, absolutely.
But with a Muse sheen over the top of it is what it is.
So you're saying they're Mutemath?
That is exactly. That is exactly like that. That's why it makes sense opening for 21 Pilots. Is because they have that like post butt rock, post Linkin Park, like yelly, passionate vocal thing, and the kind of big epic like this is a fight for the future.
Yeah,
like is what's it called? This is war style like. 30 Seconds to Mars epicness with it.
Oh my god.
But the drumming and the ahs is very car commercial indie and very like fits in the tantrumsy, you know? It's like a weird clash of two bad tastes.
This feels like the onset of car commercial, and it feels like they're trying to be both like an arena, like an alt rock band, and also like an arena rock band at the same time, while like basically trying to speak that into existence. Like they don't have the backing behind it. They're just like, no, we deserve to be playing arenas with this sound.
100%. And there are like a couple different elements of it that are like I could imagine myself enjoying in another context, but it's like I could imagine liking these drums if they were on a different song. And then I could maybe imagine liking these vocals if it's like it's doing so many things at once, and you could maybe deconstruct them and create something good. But like all of them together is just they're all so poorly chosen that they cancel each other out. Like
know what this feels like? This feels like I just cracked open a beer and realized I'm in a commercial because this just started playing while that happened, and I took a sip.
You know what? Actually, the energy this song has, like it's a CBS drama. And for some plot reason, the characters are going to a rock concert, and like it doesn't really matter. Like there's nothing culturally specific about the rock band. Just like there's a band that's playing, and this band has been like placed in the CBS drama.
Absolutely.
This song just sucks. This song made me have flashbacks of the car commercial number ones. Like even like this song is bad now in my normal music brain times. Even if we were in the midst of car commercial number ones where up was down and down was up, I would not like this song.
I
Like,
mean,
it's not even
here's the
funny. You can't even make something funny about it except for just
It's also a really great
There's
segue into our
Here's the thing.
It's a great segue into our next song.
Here's the thing: is that as the person here who was the most like prone to liking car commercial music, I feel like that it's an insult to like even like the stuff that I did. Like it's like that's beyond me. This is a like level that I will not touch. This literally feels like you just like sat some monkeys down at a typewriter, and the typewriter is Ableton, and they like made auto-generated music from it.
ChatGPT makes a song for the Twilight soundtrack for a scene where Bella and Edward go public with their relationship, and all of the high school kids are like, "Oh, Bella bagged a Cullen."
Yeah, it does feel very like, that's why I brought up Fits in the Tantrums. It feels very self-consciously trying to be a radio song of this era in the way something like Hand Clap felt like.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think it fits, but now you say that, it makes a lot of sense. Like, right, this definitely feels like it is very
like that whole thing is just like
My first thought was that it's definitely seems like something that's kind of trying to bridge the gap between like butt rock and car commercial music, but it definitely feels like the more that I think about it, like I don't like just to even say this is like close to butt rock is insulting to butt rock.
Okay,
like
but it is going like on the chorus. Like you're right. Like it is more Fits in the Tantrums than it is butt rock, but they're trying to deliver it with that intensity. Like it is posturing itself with the same like it wants to be played on the hard rock radio stations, but it also wants to be played on like, you know what I mean, like.
Exactly.
Yeah. I just had a terrifying.
It's trying to be something for everyone at once. That's the weird thing about it, is that it simultaneously is like twee and cloying in the way Fits and Tantrum is, but it's also trying to tell you like I'm serious and I have a big penis and I'm like it's doing all of these different like posturing things and try hard things at the same time, and like this you listen to something like this, and that's how we're able to come to the conclusion that like Imagine Dragons is a good band, because at least like their ideas are like pretty, like they have one thing they're going for and they're doing it earnestly, you know, as opposed to this band where it feels like they're just throwing like templates.
Dan Reynolds has a personality. You can listen to like, okay, Dan Reynolds is a real person we're listening to. I mean, I re-listened to the Follow You song, and of course it made me remember the great bit that Alex did of heart attacks every night.
Every night. You know who else has a personality?
Hold on.
Nope.
Hold on. I need to say my piece about this because I had a terrifying revelation, which is that we're talking about all these kind of ways that it like this song in a lot of ways is like weirdly influential about the car commercial era, and it hit me. There's a non-zero chance that the sound of that song is what made like the pivot that Death from Above 1979 did like in the 2010s, because it sounds identical.
We have a similar line of thinking with what you're thinking about with the song and what I'm thinking about next song, so we should just
all right
get into the next song. And before we get into, we're gonna talk about the song, and we're gonna have a lot to say about the song itself, but I have a surprise for this episode, and I just need to, in order to build a little bit of suspense, but also just to, I need to put my gun on the table. I'm going to post a link in the Twilight Path. Okay, continue.
Oh no!
Continue.
No.
I'm not clicking this. I'm not clicking this shit.
We'll watch that after we finish the discussion of the song.
Yeah. We'll hold off on this one. It's time. We have not talked about this individual in a very long time. Not since the 90s rock series. I don't think we've talked about this individual. It's time to return to the Perry zone. It's Perry Farrell. Go all the way into the Twilight.
With download link.
I'm gonna hit play. We'll figure it out from here. It
sounds like he like auto-generated a song title. Like he just basically used the like auto predict text to like come up with the title.
It is my favorite kind of movie tie-in song of all time, where either because of the artist being completely incurious or because they were given nothing, like they only had the title. Like Perry Farrell was just sent a message saying you have to make a song for the Twilight movie, and he doesn't know what the Twilight movie is. He's just like, all right, Twilight, go into the Twilight, be the Twilight. What are we doing here?
And remind you, what context this song shows up in.
Please,
because
Britt,
they
please.
do definitely use it in the movie. It's when they walk into prom.
Yes.
And you have a whole bunch of like teenagers getting so hyped to this song. They're wilding out. And they're having a full-blown party to Perry Farrell go all the way into the Twilight.
It is really funny that, like, in some ways this movie's music direction at various times can be like incredibly on the nose and like actually capturing a zeitgeist of what young people were, like Paramore being the great example. Like that is like actually tapping into what the people that were going to this movie wanted to, and then like the contrast between that and this song, which is at the exact intersection of the same kind of like dance pop car commercial indie of like Passion Pit, but with like this Jane's Addiction 90s Dragula industrial kind of edge to it.
You can mash this up with Dragula and it would work perfectly.
No, the thing is, I hated this song when it first started. I was like, what the fuck are you doing, Perry? Like, all the wooey, like, it almost moves like Jagger-esque, kind of, in the beginning. And I don't know who the woman is on this song. I honestly don't want to look up her name and just like preserve her.
Probably his wife.
Preserve her anonymity, but I think it is his wife.
I do want to say one thing is that realistically, the only situation where you have a bunch of people together and like they get pumped for Perry Farrell is if you have a congregation of the Indieheads podcast.
However, I was about to say, as the song gets going, and especially like the last minute of the song, it's not when it gets like when he actually freaks it with the industrial stuff. It's kind of good.
Alright, okay,
good.
I'm stopping it here. You cannot fucking say that shit to me. Atticus Ross wrote the song.
He did.
No.
What the
Holy
fuck?
shit.
What the hell?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's weird, and it's a weird vibe for the movie that like this like kind of, but and how it like tries to sit between, like a very kind of radio friendly, like kind of more twee version of dance punk, and like this very Nine Inch Nails, Dragula, like industrial dance punk. Like it's trying to have its cake and eat it too. And it doesn't quite work, but it is really fun in this last section where it actually gets a little freaky.
I'm sorry. This is not industrial, Jackie. You cannot say this to me. The industrial.
I know what you mean.
I'm making an announcement. I'm making an announcement. I'm kicking Atticus Ross out of Nine Inch Nails, and I'm in there too. I'm in there now. I'm replacing him. We're making Broken 2 Broken Again.
I know the difference between actual industrial music and like the pop music of the 90s that was called industrial with big air quotes. Like I get it, but I also think it is kind of fun. Like
just doing a sine wave that you can get from like a very basic plugin is not industrial. I'm sorry.
You need to remember the thing that Grant said, which is she said Grant said, I'm beginning to understand that Jackie is like me with spooky vampires and goblins, but with just any time there's a beep boop sound in a song that I heard before the age of
why have
18.
the last 2 episodes I've been on been about nothing but monsters?
That's a good question.
Literally, like
there's been a real thematic.
This one you did it to yourself with this one though, Britt.
There's been a
you did it to
thematic
yourself.
Consistency. It's like bands that dress up like monsters, and then Pandora, and then this is essentially bands that dress up, bands with monster vibes, then also Pandora vibes. Like this is a real like this.
Well, it's
what's the fucking dialectics like? Synthesis. I can't do Hegel.
Here's the thing.
High.
Here's the thing.
But,
this is a movie full of people who dress up like monsters. There we go.
Yeah,
yes, 100%. But sexy, glittery. But
exactly.
how? But in retrospect, like as we're on the topic, how funny is it? How like, I mean, in general, like all of American culture from that period of time was like straight men being horrified by what teen girls liked, but like how mad dumb nerds were about the fact that they like glittered. It's like, oh, they're not even real vampires. Like it's just the dumbest thing. It's like it's silly. Like whatever.
The only band that was able to pull that off was My Chemical Romance, because they made it like one of the best songs of their career out of it.
True. All right, this song, Perry, it's fucking insane.
I can't really hear Perry at all on this. His voice is just like
Perry.
Whatever they're putting on his voice, like it does not sound like Perry Farrell.
Here's the thing: his vocals sound like it's like the audio equivalent of what all the like surgery on his face is like. It's like that.
That's totally because it's like comparing it to the Muse song, like it's trying to sound of its moment in the way it's doing dance punk, and the way it's trying to sound like the updated version of what Jane's Addiction was to the early 90s, which is that cock rock, like a head empty, only dumb guy riffs and sex lyrics mode. But like he is stuck in the 90s in a certain way, and so you can feel that like that tension that is pulling this song apart from like how much it wants to be a 2009 song and how much it is a 1996 song.
I have an analogy, which is that if the Mutemath song is the rock song that plays in the background of a CBS like investigative drama, this is like the song that plays for a minute in the background of like an television like reality show as like a bunch of rich people go shopping.
That is pretty yeah, kind of going back to Paralyzer by Finger 11. I also think of this song as being the core of like could be bumper music in an episode of Ink Masters, you know? Like it has that kind of like hard rockin' aesthetic, but the aesthetic is like hard rock cafe, like just sort of plastered on. Like it's very much like a facade, you know what I mean? Like the way that like in the late 2000s, like that Ed Hardy kind of like rock R-A-W-K vibes.
I mean, this song is bad. It's overproduced to hell. There's just so much going on.
I said moves like Jagger
so
for a
much
reason.
happening.
This I'm literally stealing a comment that Natalie just made, but like not only just Perry sound like again just the plastic surgery that Perry Farrell has had. It comes across not only in his voice but just the song in general. It's overproduced to hell. Like what are we doing?
It is the sonic embodiment of an old guy not understanding that it's time for you to act your, you know, it's like the sonic embodiment of like Leo, like maybe
it's also
maybe 25 instead of 21, you know, like just bump it up a couple of years.
Maybe
like it's midlife crisis music.
This song also feels like a vanity project for like his wife being like, I'm not gonna do like I'll put my name on it, but my wife is the star of the show. Like, I want to make my wife's career take off.
That I had about the back and forth of the vocals here. This is like the world's straightest B-52s.
Oh my god!
I'm sorry, Matty. You don't have to bleep this, but this is stolen fag pride.
It is true. Yeah, exactly. It's like taking the underground and making it lame.
But
okay,
like,
but also, I don't know. Like, I would rather listen to this song more than the Mutemath song any day of the week. Both because I think it's
no, I can't say that. I can't say that.
I think it's way funnier, so it's like more fun to listen to.
It's only funny because it's only funny because of our personal associations with Perry. As a song by itself, it's awful.
I disagree. Like here's the thing. Like with Moves Like Jagger. Moves Like Jagger is an annoying song because it's annoying and overproduced to hell, and also you just have to hear it whether you want to or not. If Moves Like Jagger wasn't like culturally ubiquitous, it would be easier to treat as like this silly artifact, but because it is something that like hangs over you like an oppressive cloud that you have to hear when you're in a fucking CVS, like this Perry song does not exist. So, like, I am never going to become, like, overexposed to it, and I can just... Whereas the Mutemath song is just, like, something that is a worse version of other things I would occasionally appreciate as a novelty. And so, I think the Perry song is funny, even though it's fucking insane.
I have two more parting thoughts, and then I've, like, truly exhausted everything I have to say about Perry. One, this makes me glad that he never tried to take advantage of, like, the PC music sound. And two,
God, Jesus Christ.
Are we sure he hasn't?
He still got time. He could make a Sophie sample pack ass hyperpop album in like 2026.
Yeah, he'll get to it like a full 10 years late.
And then he'll like get chlamydia.
Here's another thought. This makes me think that the most entertaining thing in the world is if Perry Farrell made his own My Teenage Dream Ended.
Oh my gosh.
I have like a parting thought here too. I like to think that maybe this was like the one little Easter egg that they threw into the movie just to try and like appease the parents that got dragged along with their 13-year-old like daughter to go see this movie, and just to kind of be like, hey, that sounds like that Jane's Addiction guy.
Do you know what? Actually, going back to the Dragula comp, this is like the PG-13 version of the Matrix orgy scene.
Yes.
It's like, what song do we use? Oh, it's this song.
Here's the thing: is that the thing that Britt just said? It makes it sound like you're fucking like putting an audio I Spy in the movie for the parents. Like,
right.
Can you spot who Perry Farrell is here?
We've already been going on a long time about this song. We should move on to the next one. But before we do, real quick, if we're talking about this song and how it is trying to be a lot of different things at once and overproduced to hell and perhaps doing too much and both trying to be very radio friendly while also being completely insane and unlistenable, that reminds me of another song I can think of. Matty, can you hit that link real quick and can we listen to a little bit of my creation?
Abomination.
Because it's really it's really good. Hearing it really illustrates my point.
Oh no.
It's threatening to begin with.
The slow fade in. No.
See? It's the same.
I swear to God, Jackie, if you start doing more of these fucking pistol mashups, I'm coming to your house.
No, I know. I've been like, it's like when you have a friend that's an addict and you see that they're having just a little bit of beer again. It's like, all right, okay, but like, be careful. You know, I understand how everyone's worried about me right now. I'm fine. I am so much less mentally ill than I was a while ago. I can talk about Pistol and be normal about it. But I am still fascinated by the song Pistol. Do not get me wrong. It's still there.
It's
yeah,
that's enough.
That's enough. But like, you see what I mean. They are similar objects.
Mm-hmm. Well then, let's move on. Let's move on to our next song from Collective Soul, Tremble for My Beloved. Let's hear it.
This is gonna sound like I was gonna expect it to from knowing this band, but also maybe I'm thinking of a different band. I don't know. This band has one of those very vague.
Jackie, you know Shine.
Maybe like. Yeah, I think I do.
I
but
think it'd be one of those things where if I hear, I'm like, oh, okay, it's this song.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm trying to remember exactly which song is them and which song. Like, I know they're one of those bands, but still, this song didn't really sound like what I don't know. This band has one of those. I was gonna say, dumb smart guy or like guy who's dumb that thinks he's smart band names, where it's just like two words put together that both can have like deep meanings, but you can tell the person that put them together is not like, there's not like a cohesive thought behind it. It's just kind of like, the thing I immediately thought of is, does everyone remember the Will Smith movie Collateral Beauty? Like, that's basically
vaguely, yes.
That's basically the naming concept. It's just like, what if I took two kind of smart person or like artistic words and just put them next to Collateral Beauty? Is that a thing? And that's how like I feel like Collective Soul named their band. Is like, you know, when you have like a fridge with like words on it and you just rearrange the words and you're like, what if it's this? Like, I feel like that's how Collective Soul named themselves. Because like, what does that mean? Like, it just like feels like a very vague like 90s Buddhist-y thing.
Humans, we're all one collective soul coming together. And this is the mid 90s. This is, during, because of course they're not a jam band, but this is definitely during like, it's the end of the Cold War, peace and all that shit.
Which is why I was expecting this to sound way more crazy ant at the farmer's market, like I was expecting this to sound more, you know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of Rusted Root. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, no, that's Rusted Root.
Rusted Collective Soul are like Diet Butt Rock.
But you understand why Collective Soul and Rusted Root feel like they're categorized in the same department of my brain's like filing cabinet.
For sure.
I maybe it's because I'm actually like familiar with like their hits, but it's I don't know, to me this sounds like basically a 90s alt band trying to like stay relevant. It sounds like you know what it sounds like to me is it sounds like the like songs that Pearl Jam were doing in the late 2000s that were like purely to try to get onto Guitar Hero.
You know what it sounds like to me? So like you've got this on one side and you've got Rusted Root on the other side, and standing at the midpoint between those two things is Dave Matthews Band. You know what I mean? Like,
I hear it. I don't.
like,
I hear
this is
the
all the way
DMB.
on the butt rock side of jam band, whereas Rusted Root is all the way on the hippie side of jam band, and Dave is like the uniting force between the kind of dirtbaggier, butt rockier, hornier side of jam band music and the more hippie side. Like he kind of stands in the middle. It is sort of like
our
a down
Collective Soul jam. They feel to me more just like arena rock. Like that just seems like their bag.
Yeah, I think we may be associating them with that incorrectly, but it is a little, it is kind of, I don't know, classic rock, jammy a little bit, but not really. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at the 1995 Collective Soul album cover, and I think I might have. You know what it is? I think I listened to this song a little bit when I was dating my ex-girlfriend. I think she likes this band, but.
Oh, it's this fucking band. Motherfucker, it's this goddamn band.
No, but like you look
now it's all coming. It's all coming.
You look at the cover of the 1995 album, and it's like that font, and then the spirally O and the down arrow. Like it looks so much.
It's 90s
like,
Woodstock.
Yes, exactly. Like that's what I'm trying to get across. It's
absolutely
very much Woodstock revival, hippie revival shit.
Well, it's the intersection of, I think, hippie and hard rock. Like, that's kind of... it's like,
exactly.
It's for the people who want to be, like, hard rock, but don't want to, like, go hard because it's too abrasive for them.
It's Jane's Addictions for people who do acid instead of coke.
I have no thoughts on this song. It's really boring. And they only play, like, 5 seconds of it in the movie. Like, it's literally the song that they play when Edward stops the van from hitting Bella. Like,
I was really mean to the Mutemath song because like it's a particular kind of music that I just sort of loathe the existence of. But this is definitely even more boring as far as it just like this feels like bumper music, just like
you know what this feels like? This feels like something that would play in a montage to like a 2004 Lindsay Lohan movie,
or like I don't know if people listen to a lot of podcasts these days, but you know they'll have those like royalty-free music websites for stuff that you can buy.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like it would be used for like an NFL podcast or something like that. They put like the royalty-free like generic hard rock at the start of the episode, and like that's the vibes this gives off. It's bad.
Mm-hmm. Well then, let's move on to another Paramore song. We have another Paramore song on the playlist. Yeah. It's I Caught Myself, Paramore. Let's hear it.
I prefer this to Decode, actually.
I can see it.
I got these two a little confused earlier. I like this. I like this also a lot. I kind of have the same thing with this one, which is a thing I have a lot with Paramore, is that sometimes the hooks are like incredible. Like Misery Business is like an undeniable song. I don't know if I think the build to this song to me is similarly like more satisfying than the payoff, if that makes sense. I don't know. Like this intro, I think is really, really beautiful, and I don't know. There's something that prevents me from getting like all the way there with Paramore, even though there's so much about them that seems like it's just like right straight ball down the middle for me. I don't know.
Jackie, I gotta send you After Laughter, because that one is the one that's like most Jackie core, I would say.
I've listened to After Laughter. I like it. It's fine. I don't know. I simultaneously recognize like how catastrophically, enormously influential and important Hayley Williams is, but I would rather listen to the bands with singers that vaguely sound like Hayley Williams than herself, which just seems like a weird thing. It's like, I don't mean to compare her to Miley Cyrus because she's 1 million times the artist in every way that Miley Cyrus is, but like the way that Miley Cyrus is just over singing every word, sometimes I feel like Hayley is such a good vocalist that she makes a meal out of every single line in a way that can just feel like overkill to me at times, but I think when it works well, it's like so undeniable that I get why she does it, you know?
I'm gonna send you deep cuts that are the antithesis of that.
Please do.
Because there are a bunch of ones where she goes like subtler, and I think you're just listening to the big ones.
Also, Haley can actually sing.
That's what I'm saying. Miley Cyrus. I need to plug.
Miley's a very
Maddie,
limited
did you
vocalist
read,
that people really that does not know.
Sean Cook, friend of mine on the internet, has a great newsletter, and today he wrote an incredible column about a concept that he has titled the skin bag. And the skin bag is basically an age gap artistic partnership. In which a young artist and a old legacy artist, usually a guy, crossover in order to add legitimacy to the younger artist, while also, and Miley Cyrus is basically the queen of skin bagging, like Dolly Parton, David Byrne, every artist that she covers, like, it's that, and the cover photo of his piece is the Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett pictures, and he also identifies some like non-music ones, like Harrison Ford and Phoebe Waller-Bridge in the new Indiana Jones movie as a skin bag, etc. But like that's the difference between and that, and also that Miley sucks and is not that talented. And
so back to Paramore. I do want to kind of get back on topic here.
Totally.
I think the thing that is that really kind of makes this work to me is that like I unpacked this some when I was like going through the entire discography for the Pace piece that I did, but like one of the things that like really stands out to me that like I think separates them from a lot of their peers is that they are like legitimately just all around like that musically talented. And like one of the things that I was like really digging into, especially because like I'm a big like self-titled truther, because I think it's maybe one of the most like just technically like impressive of their albums, but like that's where I think the guitar part of this is like the thing that really distinguishes itself for me. Like it feels the specific tones and like performance style and like skill that gets used into it is it really puts them a cut above their peers in a lot of ways. And like it could very well be the thing where it was like the playing is like a lot simpler, or the tone is being like is a lot more simplified, but it's like the combination of like the very sort of idiosyncratic things that like maybe might not be noticed just listening to it on its own, but then putting it like against its contemporaries, it's like you notice like the kind of like very subtle work that's going into it.
To be very, very, very unsurprising, what you're describing is exactly what I think about Ethel Cain, which is basically that like Paramore have an understanding of the underground music that they're pulling from in a way that a lot of the other big bands like them don't. Like that they really, really get how this music works at that sort of underground level, and like what makes a really good like Midwest emo band sound really good. And you can hear them tapping into that, but also they're able to give it the like widescreen maximalism and the kind of big accessibility that a lot of those Midwest emo bands could never have, while also not losing. It doesn't feel like you're losing in translation any of that, and it feels like it balances both. And that's something that's way, way harder to do than I think a lot of people like to get credit for, because the people like to be like, okay, well, it's just like the version of the thing I like, but made more sort of like appealing. And it's like, no, actually, it's walking a really fine line where it is doing the thing it's influenced by at a high level, while also putting it on this scale and platform that allows it to become like anthemic in a way that like these smaller bands can never really achieve. And I think that's what is cool about Paramore.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to keep moving, but I do want to say two things. I'll probably send you these after we record, Jackie, but two self-titled songs I think you should check out are Part 2, which is a song that basically has like a shoegaze guitar tone for its intro, and then its chorus goes like all Evanescence mode in a way that's really cool. Yeah. And the closer on that, Future, which is literally just a post-rock song. Like it's literally a 7-minute post-rock song.
Hell yeah.
But that's kind of that's the kind of mode I like.
The song is not that interesting to me, I'll be honest, and it's not even used very interestingly in the movie as well. It's literally just played in when they're out prom dress shopping. It's just playing in the store. So, and that it kind of works in that particular context. I'll give it that. Like, you have Decode next to the song, and like I get that it's Paramore. It's hard to fuck up when you're Paramore, but like it's not my favorite.
Well, there we go. Well, I like it, but yeah, that just again, I'm a boy, and I feel way out of place on this episode. But I feel like there's gotta be look, there's gotta be some boy representation because again, here's the thing, I could be saying worse things. I'm an enlightened boy. I'm an enlightened boy who realizes the Twilight soundtrack mostly slaps. And when it doesn't slap, it's still a very interesting document of our times.
Mm-hmm.
And but coming up next, though, we got a track from Blue Foundation. It's "Eyes on Fire." What scene is this one in? What scene is this song in, Britt?
It's like when it's after so when after the first scene where Edward and Bella first meet, like properly, and like she walks in and like he smells her and is like, stinky.
Yes.
So he like disappears for like 2 or 3 days, and she's like, I don't know where Edward went. I don't know. And he's just like, they just keep cutting to this empty chair, and they'll look at like the other Cullens and like, oh, no Edward. Other Cullens, nope, no Edward. He's in
So
my
arc with this song. First of all, I was like, who the fuck is this band? And of course, this is a band that is the classic example of why the Twilight soundtrack became such a thing going forward, just because they have no other hits. Their top 3 songs are this song and then 2 EDM remixes of this song. Oh, actually, no. 5 of their top 6 songs on Spotify are remixes of this song. Like, it is so dominated by this song, like, to a hilarious degree. And I think I understand why, because this song starts like the beginning of the song, like when they're just doing
Jackie. It's worse because it's 4 of the top 5, and it looks like 7 of the top 10.
Yes,
oh,
correct.
No,
there's a re-recorded.
Re-recorded is a real sad sign of what. That's how you know you're really a one-hit wonder. Like. People will call Krayshawn someone like a one-hit wonder, but Krayshawn's not doing Gucci record, or like Rebecca Black doing like Friday remix, like it's like they know, oh, this is the only way, my only in, let me go back to this well. But the reason why I think they don't have any other hits is that I started this song, and when it started out and I heard the little guitar tone and the kind of ooh-wooey, like sort of wispy vocals, I was like, oh, am I going to really like this? And then she started actually singing, and I was like, oh, okay, no. I'm fine, because I don't think she's a very good singer. But yeah, this is like we have Ethel Cain at home. But hey, she did it 10 years ago, so...
Like,
this is boring as hell.
This feels to me like...
It is predictive of better music, but it has 0 sauce and 0 actual juice.
Yeah, this feels like a teenage version of The Kills. Like that's what it is.
That's a good call. Yeah.
I don't really have anything else to say about this. This has like no pulse. I might get another beer while we're figuring out what to talk about here.
Yeah, it has the vibe down, but no pulse is the right call. Like, there's still some part of my monkey brain that wants to like this because of how exactly it's scratching like my kind of moody bullshit. However, I am well aware that it's not quite, I have a scale from like the very best music I listen to cigarettes after sex. And this is not quite at that level of boring, but it's only like 1 or 2 notches higher. You know what I mean? Like, it understands the vibes. It does not understand how to create a captivating performance at the center of that. So like, I understand why this song took off, because when you combine it with the Twilight movies, like it does have like, especially this part right here where no one's singing again, like I think the weakest part of it is the actual vocals. Like I think instrumentally, even though it's not anything special, it is just a very kind of down the middle, like ooh. Crystal Castles. Ooh. You know what I mean? And I am like willingly able to admit that I'm like totally a mark for this sort of thing. So even someone doing it badly, I'm kind of like, it's fine. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that there are several like EDM remixes of it, because it very much does have featured singer on an EDM song energy vocally. Like that's why it really sucks. It has that like over reverb like production to it too. Like
they also correctly assess that what this thing needs is more life.
Drake voice. More life things.
I feel like I feel like the song it's like hypnotizing me to fall asleep.
No, like the mean thing they said in the Pitchfork review about the Eva Kane album, that it's like such a slow burn that you sometimes forget if the candle is still lit. Like I don't think that was an accurate thing to say about that record, but you should have saved it for this song. Like that's what this is. It's like it does create a vibe, but it's so lifeless that you have difficulty locking into that vibe. Like there's nothing immersive about it. Like it worked. I think it was able to become so popular via a soundtrack because it is the kind of song where, like, if you put it in the background of a particularly compelling scene in a movie or show, it could effectively just like create that sort of like emotional, vague ambience without if you're able to not pay attention to it because you're multitasking and watching the scene. But like if you have to actually listen to it on its own or like watch the music video like I did, it's like, oh wow, this is. Also, the music video we should bring up is So 2008 Tumblr, It Hurts. It is really funny. Like, it's all black and white, and there are, like, strippers dancing. But there's also industrial plants and beauty and people riding the subway.
It's one of those
muted
like
color palettes.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's not quite black and white, but it's all desaturated colors and like selected like hues popping. Yeah, I get that shit out of here.
It has all of those aspirations, but then it's also clearly like made in iMovie. You know.
You know what this feels like? You know what? Able to afford anything else.
Yeah,
this band. Speaking back to the whole movie having a Instagram filter, this movie is like Flickr. This band is like Flickr, the band. You know what I mean? It's like a digital camera in 2007 that someone is like putting a slow f. You know what it is? Do you remember when people had digital cameras where you could adjust the f-stop and they would do the pictures where you take like a flashlight and you like write your name with like a slow exposure so like the light would like drag across the thing. Like this music is for people to do that too.
You know what this feels like? This feels like if you were to like ask me, who's like never watched an episode of like OG Gossip Girl, to like write a song for some episode in like, I don't know, like the middle seasons in 15 minutes.
Gossip Girl is good. I think more the vibe. Pretty Little Liars is the vibe.
That's it. There we go.
There you go. You nailed it. Nailed it.
Got to be a little spookier than Gossip Girl.
Yep.
There we go.
Well then, let's move on.
I think we're done being mean to it.
Yeah, we got four more songs left.
They only have one hit. We can't be too mean to them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like Meg and Dia only have one hit, you know. But they've got sauce. Meg and Dia, I love those girls.
Okay, but let's move on. And this is it's time to talk about the titular vampire of Twilight. It's Robert Pattinson. Never Think.
I have a simple thing to say about this song. In 2008, after as soon as Bon Iver hits, every man in America picks up an acoustic guitar, and they all go on a quest to become Hozier. But only one man could become Hozier, and that man was not Robert Pattinson. But in 2008, everyone had to try to become Hozier. Like Hozier achieved what was the American dream for white men in 2008, which was that maybe I too could pick up an acoustic guitar and get soulful with it.
Here's the thing.
Bad. This is not bad. It's not a good kind of music, but there are so many cringier and worse versions of this kind of music, and the fact that he is an actor and we did a whole episode of actors making music, it can get so much worse than this, you know?
No, and he's done like better movie titles. Like the song that he did with Tinder Sticks for High Life is genuinely fucking good.
Of course, before Matty can bring it up, his best musical contribution is to the song Birds by Death Grips.
Yes.
Facts.
Absolutely. Here's the thing is that like the guitar playing is fine, but it's like he's so fucking wispy on his vocals that I cannot understand a single word he is saying, which like is a choice. And I don't know what the context for this is, but this feels like the sort of thing where it's like the executives got wind that like he did music on the side and were like, quick, Rob, you're the heartthrob that like all the teen girls are gonna love. You have to put a song on the soundtrack.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what my problem with the vocals is that's it's not that a good singer can't be hot. In fact, many of our greatest singers are hot. People, especially white men, who sing in a way that either projects that they know how hot they are, or they're trying to sing in a way that is in its own way hot. Like, there are plenty of singers I can think of that like make me weak at the knees just like thinking about their voice and the way that they sing on songs. But those people are not people that are self-consciously trying, or they're trying to do it, but they're not like trying. You know the difference between Chino Moreno being sexy and like someone who is like a guy at an acoustic mic open night who is like trying to will his way into being Jason Mraz and trying to will his way into Ed Sheeraning into someone's heart. And it's like, bro, you are singing like your voice sounds like an Abercrombie model looks. You know what I mean? Like
there are a few moments in this, including one that we just passed, that like if you isolate them on their own, it sounds like he's basically like making orgasm noises into the microphone.
100%. Yeah, and this is also a capture of its moment and ties in really well to what the next song is. Like, as the sort of late 2000s sort of folk guy explosion happens, it just became a contest for who could toss away the delivery of their lines the most in this exact way. The like just like in the same way that we had Creed butt rock voice for the 90s of that was like deep in the voice. Now it's like this really wispy, you know what I mean? Like it's the same exact thing, but now it's happening in a coffee shop instead of at the Dallas Cowboys game halftime show.
Okay, we mentioned Bon Iver. For me, I get the
so
Bon Iver vibes.
Love. It's so skinny love. Particularly.
It is. I get more Jeff Buckley. I get more Jeff Buckley from this.
Oh, that's a good call, actually.
I honestly get like the more mellow, like Jack Johnson. That's kind of the vibe.
Yeah, I was thinking Jason Mraz, but Jack Johnson's a better call.
Like, it feels like the kind of, like, just stripped down to his guitar, like, mumbling. It doesn't even matter what the words are so much as it's, like, the particular phoneticism and vocalizations that are going on. It's... yeah. I don't have anything to say. This puts me to sleep.
This is bad. This is bad. No disrespect to my boy R Pats. We love him. Our weird Weakening Man King. The dude is so, I mean, the GQ piece from early quarantine, the man is so goddamn weird.
He's come a long way, you know? Like, he was once a normie, and now there's articles about him making ambient music with his Batman cowl on. Like,
and
he's so cool.
He's got anecdotes about jerking off into
I had normie music taste in 2008. Like, I'm sure that Robert Pattinson is a guy that, like, the moment he got famous, he just sort of, like, holed up and just started listening to, like, weird noise rock bands, you know? Like, this is from the brief period of time where he was sort of, like, cooperating with trying to be a teen heartthrob, and then once he did that enough that he could be rich and not have to do that, he pivots hard away from it and becomes the gremlin man we know and love today.
I would like to point out this is a visual gag for a podcast again, but the like little icon splash thing on the video that popped up here makes it look like older Robert Pattinson is looking judgmentally at younger Robert Pattinson.
It's very funny. It looks like one of those little MTV like the fact things that would pop up when you're watching a music video.
The pop up videos.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my god!
Like the one for Steam.
He sounds so miserable, and you could like. I know this entire movie, he was absolutely miserable. Like he does not remember any of it. He's like if you talk to him now, he's like, I've never made a Twilight movie ever. I don't like him.
I mean, I think he's come around. I think he's come around a bit. I mean, I know, like, in the universe of the Batman, he's just kind of like, yeah, no, like, I don't,
It's a very on a shorter timeline Tom York Creed sort of thing, where it's like when you're in the middle of making your career pivot, like when Robert Pattinson was trying to get people to take him seriously, he was way harder on Twilight because he was trying to get out of that shadow. But then once he like proved himself as a non-Twilight movie star, he seems a little less antsy. And it's like the same thing. Like once Radiohead finally like fully cemented their legacy, Tom York calmed down and started playing Creep again occasionally. And like that's kind of the same thing with Pattinson, where it's like he doesn't like it now, but he's like less up his own ass about it.
This might be the fact that I'm like intoxicated, but the first time you said that, I thought you said Radiohead Creed, and I'm just like thinking about the most unholy combination.
Radiohead Creed is my dream. Like that's just like sign me up right there. But
Tom could kill with arms wide open.
I gotta go make some rave DJs later, but we gotta move on to the next song.
The absolute chokehold that this song, like even to this day, I will admit, is not this Robert Pattinson song, but the next one.
It's Flightless Bird, American Mouth by Iron. That's a Iron and Wine, Flightless Bird, American Mouth. I didn't want to say the title because that's a horrible.
It is a
title
really horrible song title. I will agree
so
with
bad,
that.
but you know
but
what?
Sometimes the Iron and Wine be hitting.
Like
I was about to say, listen, we were all the same age, so we all remember in 2007 where we all heard folk music for the first time, and we were like, yes, folk music. I love this stuff. You know, Juno just came out. We were in our cups. But like, for me, the Iron and Wine songs, there's a song I'm trying to remember that isn't this song that I gravitate to. I think this song is fine, but it definitely wouldn't be like there's Such Great Heights cover is kind of the first thing I always think of, but there was another one I'm trying to remember the name of, but like I don't know, this is just like the kind of early Fleet Foxes era, you know, like this was just like going back to my everyone trying to be Hosier thing, like this was just in the fucking air. And I think Iron and Wine are one of the bands that really rode that wave, where it's like it's not like they were bad. I think they are like a pretty decently talented band, but it's like if they had come out at any other period of time, if they had come out 5 or 10 years earlier, or 5 or 10 years, actually, they could have come out 5 or 10 years later because 2010's culture just became kind of frozen in time. But you know what I mean? Like they arrived at the exact right period to be the most successful version of themselves possible. Like they could not have been this big in any other era.
Like
I mostly associate this song, or like Iron and Wine in general, with like lots of like just very stereotypical, like listening to the most like popular folk stereotypes. So like maybe that's what soured me on them for a long time. But like writing this back, I'm like, this is solid. Like this is fine. Like they've got like the chops. They know how to like write a song, how to play with dynamics. It's like this is if the teens are going to be listening to any like mega popular folk, like let it be this. Like this is pretty solid.
Exactly. Like when you experience a genre initially like very naively, and then you get a lot of context, some of those bands is like, oh wow, I can't believe I like that, I didn't know any better. And then sometimes it's like, listen, everyone needs to have a Baby's First Blank album, you know? Like it's like Green Day's Dookie. It's like everyone's gotta have the gateway. This is not as good as Dookie, but like, you know what I mean? It's like there are worse ways to discover that folk music exists than Iron and Wine. You're not getting a bastardized version of it, at least. You're getting like kind of a milquetoast version of it, but a pretty good.
But like the number of people who, like, I imagine still to this day thinks like the song is just like peak romance. Like this is like first dance of a 13-year-old Pinterest board.
Oh, totally.
Like, oh
Absolutely.
my god. Like even to this day, like if somebody said, "Do you want to make this your first dance song at your wedding?" and I'd be like, hell yeah. I'm really cringy in that aspect, but you know what? Like again, there are worse things.
Yeah, I'm thinking about how many, like, when Tumblr would have, like, the auto-playing music on, like, the blog, like, how many Twilight blogs would just have this on there as the first one.
Oh, absolutely. like this is probably like the third song that I would associate solely with Twilight, like of this entire soundtrack. Like this one you can't really hear and not think of like that stupid prom scene where they're like dancing, like slow dancing in the
I was trying to remember what the other song is. Naked as We Came is the other really big Iron and Wine song. That song's really good, actually. I think that song's better than this song is fine. I don't think it's bad, but I do think even within their catalog, like they are not like that other band we just talked about, where they were successful before the Twilight movie, were boosted definitely by the Twilight movie, and have just continued chugging along. Like they stay like. I'm looking through their discography right now, like 2013, 2011, 2015,
they still
2015,
like
2019.
play pretty sizable shows, yeah.
And their newest, like they could put out an archive series that will have 2 songs that get 1 million plays on them. You know what I mean? Like they are still.
I mean, Iron is just a generally pretty well respected like indie act.
Yeah,
like post Twilight.
Exactly. They were lucky enough to be a band that had like a built-in like audience and were basically like brought in because they had a sound that fit there and like continue to be popular. They honestly probably just gained more audience. And it's I think the benefit is they were like with an actual like label that treated them like a label, as opposed to some of these bands that were like basically just like poached and exploited by like all of the labels that were like looking for Twilight core.
Totally, yeah. And that helped them ride the sort of crest of that sort of like Juno Twilight era, like getting your song placed in 1 million things wave and actually establish like a sustainable career out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
It's good for them.
Yeah, it's solid. Yeah.
Let's move on. 2 more songs. This is the last of which is on the actual soundtrack, although there's an extra bonus that's not on the soundtrack but is in the movie. This one is, I think this is an original composition for the movie. It's Carter Burwell, Bella's Lullaby.
I literally just put this on here to mess with y'all.
I was gonna say this back half, the back half of this playlist is very sleepy. Until our last song, it's very sleepy.
Yeah, like
even for me, it's pretty sleepy, and I'm me, you know.
Yeah. The thing is, it's like Carter Burwell is a good composer, so like this is like the kind of thing he can write in his sleep, and it's like still good. Like we're talking about the guy who works with like the fucking Coen brothers like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But no, like it's a very pleasant melody, and it's like it fits the vibe of like everything else. Like if you're gonna have like a bunch of like gentle folk songs and like angsty like alternative stuff, like might as well put like this like really kind of like evocative piano ballad as your main theme.
I did learn how to play this on the violin. Like a 13-year-old me like had the Twilight soundtrack like violin book, and I learned how to play it because I got it for Christmas. And I was like, if I'm going to learn how to play, I'm gonna learn this.
Mm-hmm.
I think this.
Hang on. There's this little piano bit really here. I heard it in it. Hang on. I'm gonna play it one more time. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. 1 second. It sounds like for a brief second he's gonna get into the Nationwide is on your side jingle.
No, Matty, I had a similar thought. You know what it is? It's you're about to watch a movie and there's the clouds and all of a sudden there's the boy on the moon and he's fishing into
it's also DreamWorks.
It's the fucking DreamWorks thing.
Yeah.
Or
that too for sure.
Or like the Disney like the castle, the little like it's that same sort of twinkly, but it also like it is well done, but there, like you're saying, the sort of in his sleep quality of it, it does feel like you could imagine a slightly worse version of this playing in like a dentist's office. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it feels like the kind of thing that like probably gets used in a bunch of like temp tracks to other things.
Oh, totally.
Like,
I can imagine like a company using this as like their hold music.
Well, I'm talking about like with other scores. Like I'm sure that this would be like thrown in as a placeholder that then like a sort of like generic sound-alike gets used in its place. Like I think that's what we're talking about in terms of like the association factor. Because like when you have something that's like a very sort of like simple piano melody, it becomes very easy to like throw that in with like a bunch of other like soundtracks after the fact. So I'm sure there's like a bunch of like sound-alikes to non-existent movies that like use the similar sort of like framework as this.
Exactly.
Totally.
Yeah. No, it's
fine.
Good theme. Good theme.
It's fine, but thankfully, Britt, I'll let you continue because I feel like you have thoughts leading into our next song.
So, this is like the Twilight soundtracks were arguably one of like my gateways into indie, and like I didn't circle back on it until like my college days. So then I would like sit there and be like, "Hey, I know this person from the Twilight soundtrack." So at a certain point, like, you know, like you start digging around and someone's like, you usually have some kind of like mentor type that usually just like throws a whole bunch of albums at you and says, listen to this, listen to this, listen to this. So I finally got to the Radiohead portion of my music education here. And this was one of the albums that was thrown at me. And I was like, okay. And then I put it on and I listened to it and I'm like, I've heard this before. Where have I heard this before? Where on earth have I heard this before? I had to sit there for a long ass time. And then finally, like, it was bothering the hell out of me. And I'm looking through everything and I'm like, what is this? Where is it? And then I realized they played in the end credit scene of Twilight. And I went, baby. How?
I mean, it does make sense in that she's a Muse fan, and there is often a lot of Venn diagram overlap between those two groups, much to my chagrin. Anyway, let's listen to it.
Yep, it's good. It's a good song.
Let's listen to Cool Muse, as I
like. This is the best. Like, this is definitely the best song on the playlist.
It's so funny how this comes into the movie too, because it's like a much mellower song fades out, and then like this just starts coming in as it like hits to the credits, and it's a bunch of clips from like the rest of the movie as like the credits start breaking through, and it's just the most insane 180 to ever end a movie.
It literally like cuts from like to like black and white, and the villain Victoria is just walking down the stairs because she's been like watching them ominously. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, I've always thought about this song as like the Dayman to Idiotech, because it is not a happy song like lyrically. Like obviously the dread is still there and all that, but it is groovy and kind of like bright in a way that Idiotech is like, this is really happening, and this song is like, you know, things seem kind of fucked but we're vibing. Used to be alright, what happened? That's such a good like. Also, my favorite detail of the song before I get out of Radiohead nerd mode is the little sample of the children going yay. Like it sounds like if anyone's played the Halo games, when you get a headshot.
When you get a headshot, yeah.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
It's a stock effect, yeah. No, absolutely.
It's so great. The little
Do you think Stephanie Meyer has any takes on that like theory that OK Computer and Rainbows are supposed to alternate? Do you think she has a take on that?
I maybe. I don't know. I feel like she's probably not like a post on our Radiohead kind of Radiohead fan. No. She's more of the Muse kind of Radiohead fan that just likes them as kind of like the people
an aesthetic choice.
The people that wrote High and Dry, you know, which is how I got into like. I always try to tell people is like everyone likes to think of Radiohead as this super like, oh, they're so thinky music criticky. Like they are also like a total melodrama band in a way that this is a weird choice for this movie. I guess it makes sense as a credit song. Like it definitely does work for that tonally, but like there are so many other Radiohead songs that could have been more like angsty, you know, like I'm a creep, I'm a weirdo, etc. But I do think that this song is really cool, and I like that it has this association. It's fun. When we're teenagers, especially, like, inheriting culture from a generation before us, like, it's always funny the different ways we're exposed to these things. Like, unfortunately, this is not as great of a story now as it was because of this guy getting canceled, but I always like to tell the story that me getting into Mark Kozilek, I was not one of those people that got into him when they read the Benji Pitchfork review. No. I got into Mark Kozilek because of the trailer for Gears of War.
Oh my god.
Which is really funny for like 17 different reasons. But yeah.
Knowing Stephanie Meyer's worth, how much do you think she paid for In Rainbows?
That's actually a good question. This has to be one of the more expensive cues on the soundtrack.
I meant for the pay what you want. Knowing her, she probably was like, she probably paid for free and was this is the wave of the future.
I don't know. I feel like she paid nothing. I feel like she was not technologically savvy enough to know that it was out for free until she could buy it on CD. That's what I think about Stephanie Meyer.
That's actually the correct answer. Because when you were talking about like the kind of idea of like people who, there's definitely the kind of people who like are into Radiohead primarily because of like cultural osmosis and because of like their places like almost kind of like a musical aesthetic choice, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Like as a kind of like band to like it, if you were like into cool hit music, where like she probably picked this up like as when it came out in CD form, heard this first track and was like, oh, this is like perfect. Let's get this in here.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Like sidebar that's like slightly tangentially related, that like one of the nagging questions I have about Radiohead sometimes is there are two songs that I can think of, or two artists that are not like on the soundtrack that have made references to Radiohead in one of their like popular songs. And I want to know what song they were talking about. Like one of them is Katy Perry, and she's like, we made out in your car to Radiohead. And I'm like, what song are you making out to Radiohead, Katy Perry? And then the other one is Avril Lavigne, and she's like singing Radiohead at the top of our lungs with the boombox playing as we've fallen in love. And it's like, what song are you singing at the top of your lungs?
There are a lot of songs on the Bends, like Fake Plastic Trees and High and Dry, that were like, I mean, I think that's why
like, those are
going
the
back
obvious
to the
choices, but
going back to the Creep thing, that is why they ran so far away from that song's legacies, because they like you're saying, as like an aesthetic choice. For the whole 90s, their whole thing is just like, oh, that's a band for people who are sad and people who are weird, outcasts, and like that they were just flattened down to that, because like there are two Radiohead songs in the Clueless movie. Like we have such a like a different perception of Yes,
yeah.
They're and
Fake Plastic Trees is primarily like the big one.
And there's another one I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I think another Ben song, but like. In the 90s, the Radiohead were just cool, and I think we have a different perception of them now, that like they were already, by the time that we came of musical age and either got really into Radiohead like me or didn't like other people, like they were already just sort of calcified in stone as like the music critic, like everyone loves them, takes them seriously band. At one point, they were just the guys that did the Bends and Pablo Honey, and people like would lump them in with Oasis, you know, like they used to exist in a completely different like cultural landscape than they do now. And so I think because of that, especially with people that are older, like it totally makes sense for people to have like this, because Radiohead, if you engage with them as a hits band versus Radiohead as most like people on the internet engage with them as like this band that made these 9 totemic albums, like those are two different bands. And I actually I got into Radiohead that way, as most people do. Like, I didn't just like listen to OK Computer and have my mind blown in one go. Like, I got really into High and Dry before I was ever into them as a band. I got really into like the most accessible, like ballady, just sort of like I am a person that has feelings Radiohead songs. And I think that totally makes sense that. And also just like, yeah, like moms like Radiohead too, you know what I mean? Like they do have some songs that aren't scaring the hoe songs.
I'm just this is very funny because earlier today there's a cafe outside of where I work that's setting up, and they have like speakers going, and like the song that was like playing as somebody was like sitting there and like doing work was like a morning ballad. It's just like that's one of the most like terrifying songs just like hear in public.
No,
for Radiohead.
totally.
Just like hearing Cut the Kids in Half like over and over again.
I was in a on my first day at Epitaph Records, my internship at Epitaph Records, I went to go get lunch nearby, and I went to a ramen shop. And it felt like the universe was playing a prank on me, because they clearly had some like Radiohead like Pandora station on but it was only playing Radiohead. Like it wasn't like music inspired by Radiohead. It was only Radiohead. And I swear to God, in the 30 minutes I was in there, they played Daydreaming in its entirety twice. it played, and then another Radiohead song played, and then it was like do 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 do, like Daydreaming started again, and I was like, you are going to like make someone commit suicide in this ramen stop right now. Like, what are you doing?
My one last thought before I depart, because I really don't have like much to say about Radiohead like now of all times, but like I could totally see Robert Pattinson like at his I don't give a fuck era of his career doing the MTV Beach House performance. Like I would like to see it.
100. I could also see Robert Pattinson doing like a belly dancer dance to the Gloaming.
Oh my god.
Those are the two like most that Tom and Robert Pattinson's energies overline is when they're both in gremlin mode.
Absolutely.
The mixed mitosis song or dance to like fucking supermassive black hole. One that gets over with gasolina.
Like sync the Lotus Flower video to Supermassive black hole.
I mean, I was thinking about the Lotus Flower video when we were watching that black and white Blue Foundation video.
Oh god.
Well then, anyways, that is it for this episode. Britt, thank you so much for bringing us this idea.
I have one more, like two half thoughts that technically go together, so to make one thought. Thought number one, Perry Moore. Mm-hmm. The second one is Perry Farrell Moore. One of them's got to stick somehow. I don't know.
I think Perry Moore is good.
Perry Moore rolls off the tongue better.
It does, but you know, like you have to kind of put the context in there. So that's the context of this movie, and I'm very excited to like revisit the New Moon soundtrack that I actually like way better. It definitely appeals more to like my indie hipster vibes.
This was a fun episode, but this was really the one that we had to get through to get to the other ones, because from here on out, the rest of them are. Not entirely. Like they're still posting mid from time to time, but like we didn't get
loaded.
I don't think it's very
we didn't
good.
get any any Florence and the Machine this episode. We didn't get any Death Cab this episode. We didn't get any like there are a lot of bands that I think we didn't get any Bon Iver. There's the big Bon Iver St. Vincent song on the next one. Like
you get like for a while you get Hearing Damage, which was like the only. Like this was what Tom York wrote for fucking New Moon.
Also, no one tell AJ, but Muse will return. Unfortunately.
Oh boy.
I mean, if Stephanie Meyer has anything to say about it,
Muse absolutely will return. That's not even that is a promise, not a threat.
It is a threat. It's both.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. And next week, Jackie, you want to tease next week's episode? It is Go White Boy Go.
I'm not looking at the calendar. Oh my god! Next week's episode is going to be fantastic. This is just going to be the moment I had this. So in the process of making our middle school dance episodes, right? Like it was hard to contain into one because there were a lot of songs I wanted to include. One of these in particular was like one of the first songs I thought about as a middle school dance song, but what I realized is I couldn't put Crank That Soulja Boy in the middle school dance episode because just having that thought opened my brain to the ideas of all of the songs that had a dance attached to them, and including one, of course, obviously that's been a big fascination of this podcast, The Twist. And so I have curated a journey through time and the history of dance craze songs. I will not spoil all the songs that have been selected, but if you like to learn a sequence of moves and then try to do those moves with your friends in the pre-TikTok day before these young whippersnappers were doing TikTok dances, we had the hokey pokey, and we're gonna talk about.
God help us all! God help us all!
You do have to find out what it's all about one of these days.
Next week we're finding out what it's all about, for sure.
Anyways, that's it for this week's episode. We will see you all next week. And bye-bye.